So each year, Unitarian Universalists around the country gather for what we call water communion. That moment of calling us all back in, reminding us that we are distinct individuals and yet we're profoundly enmeshed in each other's lives as an interdependent community. But why water? Why is that the thing? So I want to give you a few thoughts, very few thoughts this morning, about why water. If we begin by thinking about the cycle of water, right? We created a storm earlier, so water falls as rain, and it flows into rivers, it reaches oceans, then it evaporates into clouds and moves back over the land and falls as rain again. And this cycle of movement and transformation actually mirrors the cycle of life, of growth, and even of thought. And we, as human beings, are always in the midst of that cycle. Always. Every day, each of us drinks about 2 liters of water. For a person, probably one of our little ones, who weighs 77 pounds, there's nearly 20 liters of water inside them. Which means every molecule of water in that 77-pound individual is replaced every 10 days. So is it too far-fetched to think, as this cycle happens, water goes away and evaporates and it comes back to us, right, that some of these molecules have been a part of an iceberg, of a coral reef? Are you part panther? Or even philosopher like Socrates? Because through water we are connected to all life, past and present, as a tangible expression of the interdependent web of existence. And yet, this year feels burdened. We are still emerging from years of trauma, from a great loss and fear, still recovering from pandemic and how it has reshaped our everyday. And it's hard to hear those words still. The pandemic hasn't left us. We've just adjusted and moved with it. But communities were fractured and grief was constant. And those anxieties still linger. Now, across the globe, rivers and floods have ravaged lives. In this year alone, in Pakistan and northern India, monsoon rains displaced more than 1 million people. That's a lot of people. In Yucaristan, wildlife suffered too, as rising rivers swept away all the creatures like leopards who didn't know how to swim that torrential rain. That in itself fractured the ecosystem of wildlife. In California and Florida, intense wildfires scorched land and communities. A reminder that climate is a rising concern. This summer, Spain and Portugal endured their worst ever wildfires, burning a large part of the Iberian Peninsula. That's a lot to think about just in climate, but it mirrors the same struggles that we feel in our democracy as it continues to show signs of strain. Legal battles unfold in militarized force that looms over cities like Washington, D.C. and Chicago, even as judges attempt to hold all of that at bay. The Voting Rights Act, at 60 years old, actually faces erosion that threatens fair representation. And democracies around the world wobble. It has been warned that U.S. silence in the face of global democratic backslide is not a neutral stance, but undermines our values. In this moment, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Benecor reminds us that our faith calls us to put love at the center, to replace fear again and again and again and again with a love that is so expansive that it includes everyone. And we mean everyone. And yet we speak uncomfortable truths to build sacred sanctuaries of radical welcome. We claim our public commentary as faith. We are a faith which can counter the narratives of scarcity and fear. So our simple rite of water communion isn't just some poetic gesture. It's a recommitment to care, to justice, to radical inclusion. It's how we remind ourselves that the tide is rising and we must rise with it. Think about the water you poured today. What does it symbolize for you? What will you bring to this community, not as consumer, but as fully engaged co-creator? Will you awaken to change the world? For myself, I bring gratitude for waters that sustain life in us all, for water protectors and climate justice advocates, for those fighting to keep our water sources clean and communities resilient, and for each of you, for every drop mingled here today, forging a richer stream in our common life. Let us carry the spiritual significance of our waters outward into not just this congregation, but the community, our neighbors, into our neighboring faiths, and into all systems in need of transformation. May we honor each gift that every person brings, and may each of you catch a wave of connection, of justice, or of joy, and ride it with the courage and grace to thrill a lifetime. And may we together be open for something wonderful to happen. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen and Ashe.